Welcome back to Golden Rule Radio, your weekly recap of the precious metals markets, and we're going to take a quick look at the week. And as we were walking in the studio, Tori goes, well, I got the quarterly numbers together. And I said, we just did the quarterly numbers, realizing that was going on almost 3 months ago because time is flying, which means I must be having fun. So a quick recap is actually pretty easy this week. We had a lot of movement on the heels of the Federal Reserve last week, but things have kind of calmed down. Gold, silver, and platinum. I'm not even going to show individual charts here because gold, silver, and platinum are all dead even since we finished our recording last Wednesday. Although palladium is down about 4%. We did see a little jump up in palladium last week, so it's back down about 4%. The dollar, after putting in a pretty significant low here, looking at trying to push to kind of some lower prices going back to a year or so ago, dollar's back up about 1%, but I wouldn't count that anything more than just normal trading bounces. And the S&P's dead even as well, just like the gold price. So everything's kind of calmed down, although I did want to glance at copper just based off of Eric's comments last week, his expectation to see some of the industrial metals start to rise here. And looks like Eric is right. Copper's up about 2.5%. So we are seeing a little bit of movement, but I think the initial reaction is kind of over with. So how's the quarter looking?
Quarter is exciting. It's solid. I mean, the month of September in general is. And so starting with gold, up 5.3% in September. This is the 8th straight month, you guys, that we have a higher monthly close in gold. 13.6% for the quarter. Gold up 27.5% year to date. Moving over to silver, up 7.6% in September, which made it positive for the quarter, positive 6.5%. And it's better than gold right now at 30.3% year to date. Platinum was down in all three of those categories. So down 5.2% in September, down 2% for the quarter, and it's down 4.2% year to date. Palladium up 2.5% in September. So despite that little decline at the tail end of last week and into Monday, it did finish up 1.5% for the quarter, but it's still down just under 10% at 9.9% year to date. And then finally, the gold to silver ratio we've seen over the course of that quarter up about 5.8% and flat on the year otherwise. So there's your quarterly recap. Pretty fun for all the metals. And from an underlying fundamental standpoint, I don't see anything changing necessarily. So we'll see what October brings. Do we get a 9th month?
Well, and I need to fall on my sword because the last time I was with you guys, I thought silver was going to fade down.
Hey, I'm right there with you, Rob.
Yeah.
I did too.
I did too. And
I didn't. No.
But Eric is on the copper. Dr. Copper is telling us a lot. My window was very brief. I only thought we had a few weeks where silver would back up and give us a chance, pushing into the 90s, maybe even getting up to 100-to-1 silver to gold ratio. I don't think that's going to happen now. We'll have to see by the end of the year, but I do think the Samsung battery is going to change the fundamentals for demand for silver. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, you may not be wrong. You may have been early. So some of these things take a period of time, and seasonally we see October and December tend to be weaker months with a little bit of a pop in November and positive average return. So give yourself a break and let's see what happens with the election and the election results as well. And as a reminder on that note, we will be doing an election-specific Golden Rule Radio next week, giving you a retrospective look at what has transpired over the previous number of elections in terms of its impact on gold and silver.
Yeah, and I'd kind of agree, Rob. I still don't think you're necessarily wrong at all. We're nickel and diming here, right? We're talking about based off a gold-silver ratio trading between 70 and 90 and looking for that pullback maybe to 100, 110, which was, I think, a reasonable expectation given 50%, the expectation of what the interest rate changes were going to be. So on top of that, too, a dying car engine still backfires from time to time, and silver's got a way to go, man. So for it to get the occasional pair of legs from time to time and take a little step forward, 3250 is a great number to be sitting above, and I'm real excited. But with gold pushing 2700, silver needs to be 60 or 70 bucks. We're nowhere near that.
Yeah, we're way
so,
off.
We do have fun trying to nickel and dime things here, and week to week just look at the short-term movements in the metals, because ultimately what we're trying to do is we're just looking for opportunities to really back the truck up.
Right.
I think all of us agree that the best gold investment strategy is consistency. But from time to time, is there a reason to shake the couch cushions out? So our assumption is through your broker with McIlvaney Precious Metals, through your vaulted account, through something, you're making consistent, regular acquisitions. And we'll take a few gambles on the silver price pulling back from time to time. So no, I think there's still a good opportunity. We could still be we're now 30 some days away from the election. So we could still be in that buy the rumor, sell the news phase. As we get past the election and into the holiday season, there's no reason we don't see things market-wise calm down slightly, especially in things like precious metals as people move into more holiday thinking.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm looking at the vice presidential debate this week. We'll see what kind of effect that has going forward into the election. I'm curious to see if the Republicans get a bounce from this and continue to move forward. But we don't know yet, and there's so much uncertainty, like the longshoreman strike, that could change things. And then, of course, Hezbollah being taken out and Iran sending missiles into Israel. There's so many things that can change this market. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, that's 3 pretty big global events and a pretty significant domestic spend in the Southeast right now taking place, too, that I'm
Absolutely
personally affected by. So we're seeing pretty difficult follow-up. Although I would like to say I did enjoy DeSantis's recent statement, getting his entire state back up and running within 24 hours and then offering both financial and truck aid to North Carolina, while he was still getting offered federal funding, going, hey, we're good down here. In fact, we're sending people and money up north. So it is good to see states helping other states, and I certainly appreciate that. So yeah, we've got issues here that's pulling our attention away. I think everybody was glued to their cell phones this weekend, watching a couple of the 2 and 3 minute videos coming out of Israel, which is terrifying. Let's not forget that we still have significant problems taking place in Eastern Europe as well. So This is a very hotly contested geopolitical climate at the moment. And it doesn't surprise me that we are seeing markets generally just kind of figuring out which direction they want to go next.
And I think that explains why the metals are really flat over the last week. I think people are just kind of waiting to see.
Yeah, completely agree. So I think that's just what we're going to have to continue to do. The hotter things get, especially internationally, the better the U.S. markets are going to appear as a safe haven, but also the better things like precious metals and liquidity assets are going to appear as well. So despite some local political concern here in the U.S., I think we're getting to the point where the average American is paying as much attention to the outside of America political climate as they are inside of America, despite the election, a pretty hotly contested election coming up. I'm not entirely sure what the long-term ramifications of that are. If we as a population in the United States are paying as much attention to other countries as our own during an election cycle, maybe we can talk about that later. But I don't know anybody that isn't north, south, east, or west. Something's on fire somewhere.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's Golden Rule Radio. As always, thank you sincerely for listening. Again, tune in next week and we'll talk all about the election impact as we see it, potentially by looking backwards on previous elections, and try to give you a little bit of a heads up on what gold and silver might do post-election results come November 5th.
As always, if you liked what you heard, we appreciate you clicking those YouTube buttons for us. It does help us out with the algorithm. You can find some more info on our website. We can be found at McIlvaney.com. We are also on Twitter at ICA Gold and Facebook at McIlvaney Financial. And as always, if you'd like to discuss your personal portfolio, you can give us a buzz at 800-525-9556. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.